the point, I think the principal point behind the prison movement is to prove to the establishment that the concentration camp technique, the reversion to the second dimension of fascism, the terrorist phase, but to prove that this terrorism won't work on us, it won't stop our movement, that nothing, actually short of death, is going to stop our movement. It's progress to the point now where the courts are they're in a position where they're not pressured into giving us some sort of appeasement, and that of course catches the prison personnel, staff, the pigs here up in Cross. They have no way at all whatsoever now to protect themselves except through sheer, brutal, open terror. You understand what I'm saying? The comrades here, the pigs feel the comrades here have lost their reservations, their hold.
They still feel that?
But they're convinced of it now.
And not for the last week?
Right. I'm talking about the whole state. I'm talking about throughout the state. You've heard about their intentions to strike. They intended to strike and ask for increased wages. What do you call it? The hazard pay? Wait. It catches the prison pigs up in a cross. They know that the courts are in a mood now to appease. They also know that the comrades don't fear the courts any longer. That forces them to revert to terrorism, not terrorism. Just 2 days ago, they beat one black almost to death in the hospital.
One of the things that people on the outside are wondering is how you can use your case and other cases to work as an organizing tool. I mean, without without bypassing all means, legal means, court means, mass action, and stuff like that. How can people on the outside, what kind of things can they do to make real changes in that kind of stuff and put checks on them?
Well, it fits right in with the monumental problem, the monumental historical problem, the antithesis of taken in a whole. Our opinion is that the reason we haven't been able to move forward is because left-wing factions can't unite. They just haven't been able to unite here in this country, and very few other countries. And we've been hoping that on our substructural level, the substructural level of the prison movement, we could possibly provide an example for the rest of the movement. And because the oppression of let's say the need to unite in our particular substructural level is overt and clear. We're faced with overt and clear terrorism, oppression. And being that our need is greatest, we figure that we're hoping, we have been hoping, that we could, first through the leadership of the Vanguard Party, we could first involve the community, show the community that the differences that the National Advertising Council has convinced us that our present really are illusion. We want to convince them that in the community that the differences are illusion. Of course, we run into some snags. The snags being, as far as I'm concerned, being part of the press mentality in general. The things I've noticed, the problems I've noticed, generally center around the fact that people don't quite understand what democratic centralism is. They seem to, now our ideal is to project ourselves into the future, of course, but at the same time we have to realize that we have to understand that we're not quite all capable of Well, all opinions are equal, and we have to have some sort of centralism. Our preference, of course, is democratic centralism. You know, and people don't understand that that's a necessity at this stage. That's what we're working towards is the point where all opinions will be equal, all men equal. But right now, we have to have the guidance and the purposeful leadership of a vanguard party. Like Lenin says, central committee, you know, general staff of the People's Army.
How do you think that kind of vanguard party can be developed, or do you think that it has been developed in the Black Panther Party?
I'm Black Panther, of course. Vanguard party, I'm a Black Panther party.
Do you think that the Black Panther Party is a vanguard party for just the black community and the white community?
No. I believe pretty soon all those questions, as far as I'm concerned, will be cleared up. The paper is going to run a series of articles where I discuss the nature of fascism in general, and in particular, towards the end, the form that it took here in the United States. In one paragraph or two, you would find a statement that, one of my principal beliefs is that the fact that we're the most oppressed class, most oppressed segment of society, the fact that we're at the bottom of the pyramid, we have to take the initiative. Is that background noise?
Yeah, no, that's okay.
We're going to have to take the initiative. I feel that our job is to begin the process. Once the process is begun, once we've provided the example, it's my hope, or our hope, that the intercommunal ideal will spread from our community to yours, or the other community. But of course, we know what the term vanguard means. It puts us out front.
Well, there's in one interview by Lane Brown in San Francisco paper, The Good Times, she made a statement that they asked her what she thought of weathermen and their actions. She made a statement that she said, I don't know what the weathermen are doing, but I know that they're not the vanguard party, because they're not the Black Panther Party, and the Black Panther Party is the vanguard party, and thus they're not the vanguard party. And a lot of people were wondering about two things: one, her concept of vanguard party, and two, the reasons that she didn't know what weathermen was doing, assuming that they are engaging in some sort of revolutionary activity.
Well, I won't try to second guess Elaine's definition of vanguard party, but I just gave you a brief I just gave you a brief summation of why. I feel that Black Panther Party and the Black Panther Party, of course, is the largest black organization in the country, and it's of course, really only black revolutionary organization in the country, as far as I'm concerned. The reasons, like I said, that we have to be vanguard is that we're faced with a clear-cut oppression, a clear-cut necessity, objective necessity. Objective and subjective conditions are correct in the black community for revolution. And to get to your original question, though, I think that the real reasoning behind Elaine's statement is that if you consider the focal motor theory, if you go back and consider it, you see that the idea incorporates two separate thrusts, a political and military thrust. The focal motor, the initiative, the push, the motor of the revolution has to be backed by a political force. You understand? When the man steps out, and with the idea of providing example, and there's no one in the background to fill in for, to build dual power. He did to rebuild the people's world as he destroys it. Where you at? You're left with nothing.
Well, that's the question that was posed to Weatherman at that time, and that's why they changed.
Here's the whole thing. The whole thing is the Focomotor theory. The Focomotor theory incorporates the Focomotor theory incorporates. Well, it's a monumental idea that causes some understanding. The old CP attacks the Weathermen for being counter-revolutionary, and the basis for their attack, I think, is altogether incorrect. The real reason why they can't be and aren't more effective is that they have no organs for political activity. They have no political outlets. The point is, while destroying the opposition or the establishment's capacity to produce, at that same time, we're supposed to be also rebuilding the people's world. That's the political people's job.
And there's, in relation to that, there's a lot of, in terms of the white male left, particularly middle-class white male left, to many, the primary form of oppression to them is alienation from life in general, and seeing genocide go on in front of their eyes, and them in a position of powerlessness, even if they wanted to do something, although they've been told that they shouldn't. That's a very, somewhat intangible form of oppression, though it's very real, and it's kind of hard to organize around concrete things, to benefit, to set up real programs. How do you think a white community, the white youth culture community, can organize around real changes that have to be done around prison reform, about building the party, about building survival programs pending revolution? Although that means a different thing in white community. I mean, survival, if freaks are surviving, they're getting welfare and they're smoking dope and thinking there's real beauty.
You know what we're talking about? We're talking about objective conditions. And what you're saying is that the objective conditions in the white middle class aren't correct for the political programs and the political thrusts that are possible in the black community. And you're asking for, or you're asking for alternatives. But I feel that when we start talking about objective conditions, I don't think that we should separate what I term psychological or subjective conditions too much from objective conditions. I'm saying that a man could get mad enough. A man could get mad enough to fight over what you called just now. Let's say U.S. involvement in Indochina and so forth. A man can get mad enough to fight over that.
U.S. involvement in what?
Yeah, U.S. involvement. All right. But that whole question follows the statement I made a while ago. We'll have to provide the example, and
that was Weatherman's objective.
We'll have to provide the example. The programs and the organization of political structures and so forth will have to begin with us, because that's a follow-up of my statement. We'll have to begin with us because the objective conditions are correct with us, and we're hoping that the other communities will be affected in some way. All right, their motivation, like you say, it doesn't have to be overt, let's say, starvation. It could be psychological.
Yeah, it goes very deep. Like in Berkeley, what we've been setting up, or what has been set up for the past few years, is street clinics and street auto mechanics and those kind of things to organize it around the community. But we find that people who use that are basically just freaks, kids, and that the people in Oakland don't relate to them. And we'd like to be able to change that, although they're very skeptical.
I don't think we should discount either. I don't think we should discount that the broad sections of the American middle class. I don't think we should discount the fact that they're also economically strained.
Economic what?
Economically strained. Their economic position is far from secure.
Oh, that's clear. That's clear. But like
the point is that the revolution is offering them economic security. I'm certain, positive that we haven't gone beyond the point where the revolution no longer in this country is separated from the economic motive, man.
No, I don't think it is either. It's that sometimes people don't look far enough, though, and don't look.
Of course, the average white-collar worker sees only the short term, and the average blue-collar worker sees only the short-term interest. I understand that, but I believe the political point would be to make him see that there is still a very clear and present economic motive for revolt, revolution in this country.
I won't discount that at all, but like in your article on withdrawal, one concerning that, in the white movement there's been a lot less national mass actions, like the moratorium thing, rallies for Bobby, stuff like that. And there's a lot more small groups with a lot of personal struggle around the way we fuck ourselves over, the way men in the community fucking over women, the way that we're not dealing with the racism that's in us in terms of struggling around black people's demand. And so what we've ended up with lately is kind of May Day actions. I've been reading about that and that kind of stuff. And there's, on the other hand, the Days of Rage, the Weathermen riots in Chicago, the way people were shot, fighting, pigs and stuff. And every once in a while, people get pissed off enough and rioting on the Aves on Telegraph Avenue. And people are out wondering what the ramifications of those kind of actions are and what real changes they're going to bring about.
I think that any type of practice, any type of mass action is productive, because remember we were speaking of changing attitudes. We were speaking of objective and subjective conditions. The fastest way to change any conditions that aren't correct, I believe, is with trying to keep them in an uproar. You need to keep things disrupted, and let that be the normal state of things, disruption. Yeah. So I subscribe to all forms of revolution. I support personally. I support all forms of disruption. But not at the same time. Don't get the mistaken idea that I'm also subscribing to apolitical actions or apolitical activities that don't have a clear-cut political purpose, that aren't working within a clear-cut political metrics. But really, in my wildest imagination, I can't see how any type of disruption in this country wouldn't fall within a purposeful political metric.
Like there's a couple of stages that people go through, at least in the white movement. The first stage maybe be outrage, finding out what's been going on in Vietnam.
That's the very first. Yeah. But not just with Vietnam, but also with the culture, American culture.
Reading your book, looking what's going on with the Indians in the Southwest. I mean, we could sit here for an hour listing them off, but the next stage is how to organize around dealing with some of that stuff, and that's where people fall into a snag. I got a feeling that people don't understand the concept of process a lot.
I agree with that. The protracted idea. My politics, of course, is Panther politics, of course, is a combination of Mao think and Guevara think. The two-stage revolution, and then of course the focal motor thing. Do we need to talk about revolution in two stages?
Well, it's a long thing.
Yeah, we don't need to do
stages.
I mean, I'm talking about Mao's theory of revolution in two stages, making the necessary alliances at first with any group or any segment of society that's in opposition to or that's being exploited by the principal enemies. I'm talking about the men who have placed themselves at the center and above society, the fascist manipulators. First, putting these people together with, in some cases, with using the loyalty instinct. In other cases, pointing out the similarities in our conditions, reaching for the entente, reaching for the reconciliation. That's what I think of in terms of mass action. But following the mass action and the destruction of the unrighteous. The second stage, of course, would be the socialization stage. I don't think we should worry right now that all of the people that we're allied with be strict Marxist Leninists, just so that they're loyal to revolution. In reading Mao, you see that everywhere he's absorbing. And in some places, even the Communiversity bourgeois, and points all the way to almost to suicide. Almost, he was compromising with the Communiversity bourgeoisie and the national bourgeoisie in China. I'm not saying that we do the same thing, but that's what basically that's what Comrade Huey Newton was saying in his article. His article relating to black capitalism. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people misunderstood that because
I didn't.
Hmm?
I think I misunderstood that.
Did you?
Very clear on it, yeah. I mean, not that I misunderstood it. It's just that I had a lot of understanding the concept.
Everybody that misunderstood that, have not read Mao Zedong's theory of revolution in two stages.
I know about Mao Zedong's theory, but it's just a question of being in touch with the black community and where the black community's at, which is another thing.
Yeah. But you understand that the guy that owns the drugstore on the corner, even the guy that owns this. Just a minute. Let's leave the drum go.
Hey, brother, how you doing?
Right, proud to the people.
Nobody's here to see you.
Right.
All right.
All good girl.
I was right in the middle of another.
Drugstore on the corner.
Yeah. Even the guy that owns the shoe factory. I'm talking about the black. They aren't capitalists, of course, because where did they buy their leather from, their rubber, their string? Where did they get the building from? Where did the machinery? See? The opposition at present is that guy that's making the machine tools, the huge few families that own around the country, the men that send out expeditionary forces all across the world to rip off about 80% of the non-renewable resources in the world. That's the enemy right now, not the little black cat in the corner who's trying to survive. Really, he makes really no more in income than the average one of us. Actually, of course, if we want to compare ourselves with China during their revolution, then we could call. I mean, I'm speaking in black right now. We could call the Nixon's black capitalism, or Nixon's black capitalist. We would call them the Communiversity bourgeois. But of course, they're slated for destruction after the first stage. After we get rid of the real enemy.
All right. So the basic concept is that attacking the most heightened contradictions first, and then deal with
the smaller contradictions later on. The socialization process comes later on. But really, behind the ideal is that we need allies. We need allies. That's what we can't isolate ourselves. That's what he's saying.
There's a couple of problems that some people have discussed in the last couple of years. One is
wait, before you go any further, the articles that Comrade's been putting out in the paper, and he's been putting forward for us to try to relate to and understand. The principal intent is to isolate targets of revolution. That's his intent. That's his whole intent right now. To isolate the targets of the revolution from the forces of the revolution. You see?
Mm-hmm.
So, in misunderstanding that article on black capitalism, it's almost to miss the whole technique behind our thrust. We're trying to isolate the real targets of revolution, and at the same time gather the forces of revolution. Go ahead now.
In terms of gathering the forces, there's a lot of division in the movement. Let's say take just the white community alone. Women, particularly, are not into uniting with men who constantly oppress them sexually, and constantly treating them as sexual objects, and won't deal with them other than in terms of a fuck, and that's kind of hard for a woman to deal with, and they shouldn't have to deal with that. What can be done with that? And also in terms of white people, how can black people ain't going to work. White people who are racist and who ain't even deal with it. It's understandable that white people are going to be racist. It's understandable that men are going to be sexist when we've been brought up that way. But the question is, what point is liberal? What point is being liberal?
No, that's a big question. That's a two-part question that I'm laying to go into. How much time do we have?
We got time, though. It's an important question. It's one of the most important in the movement right now.
I think that's
one of the criticisms of the Black Panther Party has been anti-gay people for one.
No, I don't think so. If you issued a statement that he's willing to join with anybody who's against the establishment.
Statement and practice, two different things. Sometimes.
Of course, they're two different things. It's practice that's important.
And a lot of white people are freaked out about practice around that. It happened around the Revolutionary Constitutional Convention and other.
But you understand that the term vanguard implies an attempt to get out front and pull the people into the proper channel, right? When that attempt fails, all we can do is attempt again, try again.
And under
you can't accuse any members of the policy-making body, I don't think, of anything like that. What we're trying to do now is get ourselves together.
I'm not trying to make any. I don't want to accuse anybody. I'm saying that when things happen like that, it's understandable, and that's the way it's going to happen. It's mistakes are going to be made. The question is, how are they going to be dealt with, and how are effective modes of criticism, unity, are going to be carried through?
We're going to reanalyze this whole woman question. We're going to analyze the whole thing. I think there's a big difference between the woman question in the black commune and the woman question in the white commune.
For sure.
But I'd like to reopen the whole thing all over again.
It's open in the white community. Yes, I know that. It's open.
I'll admit that everybody has to admit that men do in ways fuck over women emotionally, psychologically. But the reverse is also true. See, I think the responsibility should be shared.
Let me get this up here. Addicted to these goddamn things.
Change. I think that if we reanalyze this question and stop being so really head up and emotional about it, that we can see that. I think that we would be able to see that the psychological torture, the emotional oppression is a two-way thing.
You think one could be the reaction to the other?
They're interrelated, they're connected. But now, what I'd like to point out is the roots of the problem. Let's go back. I don't think that Marx dealt with it sufficiently. I don't think that Engels dealt with it sufficiently. I'm talking about right now I'm talking about the nation of the family, the state, so forth, from the beginning. I'd like you to consider right now the very first group of women, or let's say the first woman, or the first group of women. Do you think that any man at that time we're going way back, right? Do you think that any man at that time could have talked his woman into destroying his child or destroying their children? Who really did decide who should play what role? And what's oppression? What is oppression in this particular vein right here? I think it's really messing over an individual to give him a role, teach him a set of responses that he will not later on be able to live up to, and that's what's been happening throughout history with this role.
Yeah, people understand where that comes from and who benefits from that. That expensive labor force of all these women staying home cooking for Rockefeller.
You see what I see on that? It's a possibility that somewhere way back down along the line that a female came up with the idea of oppressing us by putting us out there on the hunting ground to match our skills and strengths with the animals. Put us out there in the field, right?
Yeah, a lot of it's also the question of who's winning and who's losing.
Well, I was saying, I think that if we reopen the whole question, launch a brand new dialectic and try to rediscover all the ways that we are fucking over each other, oppressing each other, that we'll find that we have very little to accuse the other of, and that's particularly so or true with the black community. What Huey's comments in the write-up on Sweetback, I think they were pretty poignant and pretty clear. In our case, with the black subculture being a matriarchal culture, in our case it is the women who are going to have to stop emotionally oppressing their sons and emotionally designating roles that further enslave or that further oppress us. What he was saying, I feel, in essence, was that the only way that the black woman is going to ever be liberated is standing in the arms of a liberated man. And the only way that can ever take place is for to raise a liberator instead of a coward.
A lot of women find it impeding the efficiency of their social practice when they're working with men, and men will not relate to them as comrades. They find it hard, if not impossible, to do good political work. How can that be resolved unless the men start dealing with the stuff that comes down?
I consider myself the focal motor. I won't go any farther. But I have no problem whatsoever in relating to women as equals if they can show themselves equal. But I feel that same way about men. Did you? I feel the same way about another guy.
Yeah, but one of the reasons that women sometimes initially aren't exemplary revolutionaries in early stages is because they've been brought up in such a fucked up society, and society's told them, you can't make revolution. All you can do is wash dishes, and that gets pumped into your head so long that it's very hard for you to get out of that.
I breezed over that too fast. Maybe I breezed over that too fast. I'm not going to ask you to wash any dishes. Any dishes we washed in our military safe house, so we wash them together. I concede all that. If she's willing to stand beside me and pull the trigger, it doesn't call for more than 3 pounds of pressure to pull the trigger on a constructed rifle.
In political discussions about what to do.
I'm speaking strictly from the military.
Well, say we're in a military situation and there's men and women involved and decisions made to do something, or is being made, and women are intimidated from speaking, and men are pushing a lot harder and stuff, and not paying attention to what the women are saying and not giving validity to the women's ideas.
That's not valid at all. You cannot ignore an individual that's standing beside you with a gun. You just cannot do it. I'm saying this, that it's impossible for a man to fuck over a woman if she's got a gun too. You dig what I'm saying? I've got a gun, she's got a gun. I cannot push myself in front of her.
No,
That's a physical impossibility.
Well, even say for putting out a newspaper, when decisions are made, political decisions that are made that could have far-reaching effects, and women are intimidated from saying they might not have a gun, but they're intimidated from
Psychological intimidation from the past, things from the past. It's heavy. It's really heavy. I understand that, but I'm saying that the only way we can begin to resolve the contradictions is with the practice. And I'm saying that the first step in that practice is so-called activity, revolutionizing activity.
It's also true that one thing was when you're say you're in a military group, it's very clearly important that the people know and understand and can and love each other in engaging in that kind of activity, and that or
live a normal life in spite of the fact that you're at war. I understand. Look, like you say, it's heavy. Wrapped right up with this same question is another problem that we as blacks have. The ideal of just what is disciplined behavior, and what is authoritarian behavior. The average black he's repelled by the ideal of discipline. I'm talking about the ones in the movement now. I'm talking about the conscious brothers. They find it hard to discipline themselves and relate to the fact that structure has to exist for anything purposeful to go forward. The two things are wrapped up right there together. In the woman question, the way things are going to usually generally end up is that some man will be heading the cell, and the contradiction will start right there. But the two questions are wrapped up. The question of discipline, the need for discipline in order to move forward with the real purpose, and then the question of how did and why did the male end up in that position of trust, a position of power, the position where he was, where he is getting the orders. It's a complicated, heavy thing, but I think that we're going to have to learn to reconcile ourselves with the fact that from the smallest units, from the smallest cells on up, we're going to have to relate man, woman as equals, and it won't be easy. It's got to work itself out. But the only way it can really work itself out, I'm convinced, and I sure hope nobody mistakes this as male chauvinism of any type. But I think the only way the problem is going to be resolved is that women become more aggressive. And I'm not talking about aggressive in the sense of being counterproductive, man, and disrupting. I'm talking about coming up with valid criticism and valid ideas and valid contributions.
A lot of people are interested in what's been going down around your defense committee and what's your position on various defense committees and how they're functioning.
First, I'll take ours in particular. Our ideal at first was to involve, of course, the order came down to involve the community as much as possible, to give the community the responsibilities that we felt would help involve them in anti-establishment activities. The idea was to introduce them through our little substructural movement. The idea was to introduce them to anti-establishment in general, on the supposition that later on, as things progress, they would move logically into higher levels of anti-establishment. You dig what I'm saying? You follow?
Yeah, that's what would happen.
Well, it broke down. It didn't work.
Yeah,
it didn't work. Well, the reason it didn't work, well, we know why it didn't work. The reason it didn't work is because of a lack of understanding of democratic centralism. See, we right in our midst, we started drawing people who we consider and who were definitely opportunists, and then others who were anarchists. And nothing can be done with opportunists or anarchistic behavior. The ideal of a committee where everybody is doing their own thing, this is counterproductive. Behind the idea, out from the outset, we should have clarified from the outset behind the whole project. We should have let it be known that we were working under the discipline of the Black Panther Party, the Vanguard Party, and that's the most recent move has been to correct that mistake right there. Of late, we published a declaration and sent out notices to all the committees that from this point forward, they can operate, but they have to operate under the guidance and under the review of Central Committee for Black Panther Party. That's the only way, the only possible way for the centralizing, ordering effect to reach down, to the grassroots level. That's the only way to have it.
How do you think the actual practice of the committees will change?
Repeat that.
How do you think the actual practice of the committees will change in nature?
Let's hope that questionnaire will have to be, of course, solved by the Central Committee of the Black Panther Party. How effective will they be in harnessing these forces? I'm certain that from now on we'll go forward.
What kind of programs do you think will new programs, and what kind of things will be initiated now that the change is taking place?
Well, the emphasis, of course, now will be put on what we've been trying to emphasize it all along. I'm talking about myself in particular. That our particular defense there in that courtroom isn't as important as the ideal of setting up projects to keep this sort of thing from happening.
Right.
I'm talking about the survival programs, our infrastructure in the black community. Funds raised and so forth like that. I feel that funds raised and activity going on around our case, I felt right from the beginning would be more productive if they were channeled into our principal survival programs. I felt that I could be represented best as an individual who stood for the survival of the community, who is always going to stand for the survival of the community.
Do you see like the legal motion and stuff?
I don't deal with it at all. Don't relate to it at all. I have a lawyer who's very competent in that particular area. I let him deal with holding the fascists off, stopping the gunfire, keeping them from murdering me.
There are those who feel, and I'm among them, that it's probably real important that you get out with your ideas, and these ideas be able to be presented to the community. And a lot of people don't see that as a contradiction to doing political work and building the survival programs and other programs. And what about that? You must be into that too.
In other words, you're saying that there's a possibility of me martyring myself if I don't concentrate more on the legal aspect of the case. Is that what you're saying?
Well, yeah, there's a possibility of you monitoring yourself, but it's not a question of concentrating more or less. I'm not clear that it's a contradiction to work to exhaust all needs.
That's just what I was going to say. It's not a contradiction. If it's to our interest and it's to my interest, to let the people know that I stand for, and always will stand for, their survival. And I think the best way to get that across is to, in one or two places where the party has the community pretty well organized, to let them know that funds raised from our particular efforts went into the construction of this particular cottage industry or this particular clinic. You dig what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to the final explosion, when it comes to the point of whether or not I'm going to survive or whether or not I'm going to, I'm not depending on them to surround San Quentin and snatch me out of here. I'm depending on the vocal motor. See?
Mm-hmm.
No need to say anything else. But it really pains me to be misrepresented. And I feel that
Sort of what happened around that.
I feel that I haven't been misrepresented in support in areas where people were carrying on the little button wars and pamphlet wars and counterproductive activity in general, pie sales and so forth like that. All right, all those things are good. And if we're going to have a raffle, let's raffle shotguns. I don't want to seem just overtly critical of the Weathermen because I dig them. And we're not going to compete over who's the vanguard party. That's not the point. The point is right now is unconditional freeing of the people, liberation, and how we can build the day we talked about a while ago. I'd like to offer this as a possibility. It's a possibility that Bernadine and the rest of the people involved and the Weathermen see the focal motor theory in a much broader sense than we see it. See, we're relating to it as it relates to us in our particular condition. We say the objective conditions are in the black community for revolution today, that all that's missing here and there are a few of the subjective. The objective conditions are there. The subjective conditions are missing here and there, and we're moving forward on that. With our programs and with our movement, and by movement I mean the shootout on Central, August 7th, and all attempts to, and all actual efforts made to put the fascists to death. But like I was saying, perhaps the Weathermen do understand the focal motor theory and are looking at it in a much broader sense than we are. Like before when I said the ideal embraces in its essence, in its heart, two distinct